Okay, welcome back. Let's continue on this topic about fair value measurement. I'm going to discuss about non-performing performance risk and credit enhancement. What is non-performance risk? The risk that entity will not fulfill an obligation. Okay, the risk that your company not able to serve the loan. So non-performance risk include but may not be limited to the entity's own credit risk or credit standing. So that is what we call as non-performance risk or credit risk. So measurement of equity instrument may be needed when where an entity undertake a business combination. When your company A acquire another company B, so they have asset, they have liability. So you need to value their asset as well as their liability using fair value measurement. So business combination is one of the topic that we have covered last semester during AK 200, and we're going to do more detailed exercise on this. So when you measure, determine the goodwill of this business combination, or gain on bargain purchase, you are comparing between the fair value of net identifiable asset. Fair value of net identifiable asset means fair value of assets minus fair value of liability. You compare with your purchase considerations, yeah, the amount received or paid from the business. Sorry, the amount received, sorry, the amount paid for the acquisition process or the liability received. So that is purchase consideration. You compare that, you'll get goodwill or gain on bargain purchase. Number two is an issue its own equity instrument in exchange for business. In exchange for the business, you issue your equity instrument. So you need to come up with the measurement. What is the fair value of that equity instrument? So the principle relating to the fair value measurement of liability can also apply for equity, for shares. Yeah, can also be applied there. Okay, can be applied to equity instrument. Sometimes you have preference shares and so on. So input based on bid and ask price. What is bid and ask price? Bid price is the price dealer willing to pay. If you have shares, Google shares maybe. So you have bid price and ask price. Bid price is the price dealer willing to pay. Okay. Okay. Ask dealer willing to sell. If you want to sell, so the dealer will give you the ask price. Yeah, how much they're going to sell you. Okay. If you want to buy, so you want to sell your assets, your equity, so the price dealer give you is what we call as the bid price. The price dealer willing to pay. Yeah. For example, you have a Google's, maybe Noons or whatever companies share. So the price within the bid ask spread that is most representative of the fair value should be used in between these normally. Yeah. So a mid price may be used as practical experience. So between the bid price and ask price, you find one price in between. So that will be the fair value of your equity instrument. And repeat again, the price most representative, most people, because when you trade shares, you know what is the price and you know how many lot of shares being asked or being sold using that price. So that is the, we call it as the most representative or the price between that, between the bid and ask. Another issue is relating to offsetting position. You have liability at the same time you have assets. Can you offset these two instruments? So an entity may hold both financial asset and financial liabilities, and as such are exposed to both market risk and credit risk. So that asset might exposed to the market risk, yeah. The financial liability also exposed to credit risk. So So these are the situations. So where entity hold both asset and liability in a particular market, and they manage this as a group. This is a group. Yeah, you have collection of asset, list of asset, list of liabilities. So they have net exposure to risk. When you have liability, you have the assets, and you put it together, actually the credit risk and the market risk will offset each other. So in such a situation, an entity may apply an exception in the measurement of the fair value. So you have all the equity and liability. So when you say you offset each other, so you don't have to apply the fair value because whatever amount invested also will be offsetted by the amount of liability. So that is exception given in that context. So let us move to the final part, the disclosure, as I mentioned. The IFRS number 13, one of the objective is to provide guideline on how businesses should disclose fair value measurement information. So this is just an example how this company report the fair value measurements. Yeah? If you, I'm not sure you can see this or not. Yeah, let me try. Yeah. So this is the fair value measurement at the end of the reporting period. Okay, they put there. Using the quoted price, this is L1. Significant other observable input, there will be L2. And third will be the unobservable input, level 3. Level 3. So for real estate industry, okay, okay, the value as at 31st December is 93,000, whereby from this asset, 70,000 is from the quoted. Quoted mean the asset uh, available in very active market, 70,000. From the L2 is 23,000. So the total is 93,000. For oil and gas industry, you have 45 L1. For others, so this is how it works. So we detail out the measurements for the fair value based on the fair value hierarchy, L1, level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1, level 2, and level 3. This is the notes. Okay. Another example is, yeah, for different asset. For this is for investment. Yeah, this investment here. So they have this value there. This value. Okay. Same classification for level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1, level 2, and level 3. So as a conclusions, can say that what is fair value? Fair value is defined as exit price. Exit price means for asset, if you want to sell the asset, for liability, if you want to transfer the liability, pay your debt. That is the selling price, not the price of acquiring, but more on the exit price. That's number one. Number two, there must be orderly transactions. You cannot just use the value of your transaction between you and your spouse, you and your family member. There's not orderly transactions. And they must be market participants, yeah, in determining the market in which the fair value is measured. Yeah. So we have orderly transactions, we have a market participant. We don't use the value derived from the forced sale. Forced sale, the companies goes to bankruptcy, so they sell the asset at lower price because of that situations. Because some regulatory or legal requirements, they have to dispose the asset. The price will be much lower. We're talking about orderly transactions, the normal transaction where the buyer have access to the valuations, have access to the good informations before make decision. Number three is there are four steps in measurement of the fair value of non-financial assets. Okay, the highest and the best use of asset established the valuation premise, either for standalone or in combination assets to measure the fair value. And then the measurement of fair value requires determination of the principal or most advantageous market for the share. The idea is we want to make sure we don't understate our assets or overstate our liability. So we want to know what is the most advantageous. Whether do you have number one, yeah, the principal market, the main market where people sell and buy the asset. That is called a principal. If you don't have the principal market, then it goes to the most advantageous market. Then we have three valuation techniques. They are market approach, the cost approach, and income approach. So this is the approach: market approach, the cost approach, and income approach. And we have three level of hierarchy, whether it's going to be L1, L2, and L3. L1 is the highest, followed by L2 and L3. Then we did discuss about observable input have a priority than the unobservable input in terms of quality of that information. Yeah. So a fair value measures is categorized in its entirety at the same level as lowest level input that is significant to the entire measurements. So that is what is meant by fair value measurement. So I want you to try this question 3.1, 3.1, 3.4, and 3.5. This is your homework. This is your homework. Please take this 1 hour, sit down, print the questions, and then do 3.1, 3.4, and 3.5. Okay. If you have extra time, you can do this, I think, around 40 minutes. Please try question 3.6 and 3.9. I did with you 3.11 and 3.13. So the rest, I want you to do on your own. Miss Yusra will show you the answer for 3.6 and 3.9. If she has extra time, so she is going to show you the answer for 3.1, 3.4, and 3.5. Any questions? Are you okay with this? Okay, so let me just repeat again. So for the homework, you have 3 questions to do. I'm going to read the question, explain the questions. I want every one of you to take this 40 minutes to try the question. If you have extra time, please do another 2 questions that will be discussed by Miss Yusra during the lecture. Okay. I also prepared two set of self-study practices on Moodle Interactive. So I want you to try that question, the multiple choice question, whether you have good understanding on the topic or not. Okay. Your job now is to do the self-study practices as well as the tutorial questions. Okay. I am moving to the questions, to the tutorial questions. Okay. Hope you can see my screen here. But I'm not going to solve it. I'm going to read the question, explain to you, and then you're going to do on your own. Yeah? Okay, you need to try the questions. Okay, this is exercise 3.1, your homework. Maple Limited conduct a business that makes women's handbags. It operates a factory in an inner suburb of Perth. The factory contained a large amount of equipment that is used in the manufacture of handbags. Maple Limited owned both factory and land on which the factory stand The land was acquired in year 2013 for 400,000. This is the cost of land. The factory was built in the year, in that year, also same year, okay, and the cost of the factory is 1040. So I have two types of assets, land and factory. Both assets are recorded at cost. The cost is 400 and 1.04, 400 and 1.04, okay, with the factory having a carrying amount. The carrying amount of that asset now is 520. 520. In recent years, a property boom in Perth has seen residential house price double. This is the economic factor. So the value of the property goes up. The average price of a house now is 1 million. A property valuation group used data about the recent sale, observable, of land in that area to value the land on which the factory stand 2 million. Now the factory stand 2 million. The land is now considered as prime residential property given its closeness to the city with its superb ocean view. It's suitably for building executive apartment. So if you demolish that factory, it costs you 200,000, okay, to make way for this apartment to build. It is estimated that the built new factory on the current site would cost around 1.56 million. So that is about the factory. So this is the historical information. This is the new information available. So your situations now, your task now is as the director of the Maple Limited, okay, you want to make sure that both measure of factory and land at the fair value as at 30th June 2023. So you want to measure that. So how should you measure this fair value? So how are you going to measure these fair values? Okay, that is your cost. You are given the new price of the land and also the cost to demolish the factory and what will be the new current site cost for the apartments. Okay, this is question number one. Question number one. Okay. Are you okay with this? Okay. Let us move to the second questions. Second questions. Still about assets. Asset is much straightforward. Okay, we are testing the highest and best use. This is the okay. Sailor Limited is in the business of bottling wine, particularly for small wineries that cannot afford sophisticated technical equipment and prefer to concentrate on the growing of the grapes. The wine, the white wine and champagne bottle used by Sailor Limited have a built-in insulation device that keep the contents of the bottle cold even when held in the hand. So that is the very special. Yeah. In January 2023, Solar Blue, a company experimenting with energy sources useful in combating climate change, produced a device which, when attached to the outside of the container, could display the actual temperature of the liquid inside. The temperature was displayed by highlighting the certain colors on the device. However, this device could exactly be used with a wine bottle had yet to be specifically determined. However, Sila Limited believed that its employees had the skill that would enable the company to determine the feasibility of such a project. Whether the cost of incorporating the device into wine bottle would be prohibitive was unknown. So Sailor Limited was concerned that competing wine bottling company with might acquire the device from the Solar Blue, so it paid 100,000 for the exclusive right to use this device in conjunction with the bottle. So now Sila Limited bought or paid this exclusive right to this new technology to this new technology to enable them to measure the temperature of the liquid inside the bottle. So you are required to measure the fair value of the asset acquired. So discuss the process of determining this fair value. So this is more theoretical questions. Yeah, you need to go back to the textbook, to the PowerPoint, and see how you're going to answer, how you're going to explain the process in determining fair value. Okay, question 2. Question 3 is combination. This is also a theory question. Palm Limited acquired a business that used a large number of assets that work in combination to produce a product saleable in offshore market. The asset of business include a computer program that transfer the input to manufacturing process around the asset that work together to produce the output. So in measuring the fair value of computer program, management of Palm Limited determined that the valuation premise was in combination, is not separately, as the program work together with other asset in the business. So you have a stand alone or in combinations. So you are required to discuss this historical how the various valuation approaches may be applied in determination of the fair value of the computer program. So how are you going to measure the fair value of that computer program? Good. Okay. So please take your time, go back to the materials, do your reading, and try to answer these questions, these theory questions.